Maps, areas, environments, whatever you call them. A game's environment can be one of, if not the most important aspect of selling itself. Entire games are made by their environments. Whether it's the aesthetic, the draw of the game, or it's part of the plot, a game's environment is one of its key components. Back when games were starting out, environments were practically non-existent, but developers soon figured out that it probably paid to not have your surroundings just be a color. So games started using different biomes and locations as environments. You know, grass, desert, water, labor, the usual. But every time you entered 1-1, it was still the same 1-1. So imagine how it must have felt entering Castletown Market and... wasn't there an IHOP here? Game maps that change while you play. They kind of mirror the real world. Things change, they evolve, they move forward or backwards. It's special being able to see the state of a location change and feel its present become its past. And there's importance to these changes. They represent different things for the different games that use them. So let's go deep into every game and figure out what's the secret behind these evolving maps. Hollow Knight is a game practically made by its environment. Being a Metroidvania, a large part of Hollow Knight is just exploring non-linear areas. They had to lock in on every area, including the first one, the Forgotten Crossroads. Being the first area, and one of the biggest, you're gonna spend a lot of time here, learning how the game works and where to go. You'll know this place like the back of your head very quickly. Throughout the game, you'll also find the infection a lot, through enemies, through bosses, and hell, even through areas that have been infected. But that infection stays native to its area. It's not gonna spread. So it's kind of a shock when you defeat the broken vessel and return to the crossroads. I swear to God there was an IHOP here. The Forgotten Crossroads have now become the Infected Crossroads, a hostile and harsh shell of what the crossroads used to be. And when I mean harsh, I mean... this area, which used to be the area you knew best, has now become the hardest area yet. The enemies are all threats. Certain paths you thought you could take are now closed. And to top it all off, you start thinking, could other areas be infected? And if they can, when? It really paints the infection as a force of nature to be reckoned with. It took the area that's basically your home, without being your actual home, and made it not only a hellhole, but also the catalyst for the final boss of the game. Considering how close the crossroads are to Dirtmouth, your actual home in the game, it really gives a sense of danger, like even Dirtmouth could be infected. And that's basically what the infection is in Hollow Knight. It's a terrible evil that corrupts others by consuming them. And considering how barren the world of Hollow Knight is, it seems like it wins. At least Little Silk Song gives us something. Rainworld is quite similar to Hollow Knight in some aspects. It's also a very environment-heavy game, more so than Hollow Knight. It places a lot of focus on the ecosystem of the world and how you're just a small drop of it, the bottom of the food chain. That is, if you're part of the food chain. The Watcher DLC released recently, where you get to play as the Watcher with an entirely new map, new mechanics, new gimmicks, new everything. And these regions are just beautiful, man. Look at this. But some regions are infested by a substance called the rot. In base game, the rot stayed dormant in its respective area, similar to the infection. But in the Watcher DLC, they're called sentient rot. I think they spread. Rainworld works through cycles. You explore during the day, find shelter when it rains. You do not want to be outside when it rains. This pattern stays basically the same for every run, but with the Watcher, the rot spreads with every cycle. Throughout the game, you'll see the rot corrupt areas, and you're powerless to stop it. Time keeps moving and the rot will keep spreading, until eventually it takes all the regions it can. Seeing the entire world get ravaged by the rot is kind of sad, but what hurts more is that every location from the base game is already fully corrupted from the start. The regions that you started the game with, that you learned the game with, are wrecked and dismal. It's similar to the Infected Crossroads. It's the familiar place that you remember so well, just wrong. And the worst part is I still can't find IHOP. Not all map changes are strictly an infection or corruption. Some changes have to do with the layout of the map, and are a bit simplistic simpler. Like for example, flipping the map. Take Castlevania Symphony of the Night for example. Another environment heavy game, Symphony of the Night has you traverse through Dracula's castle as Alucard, Dracula's son, and literally just Dracula's name backwards. The castle is divided into areas, and certain areas are locked behind abilities that you find in other areas. Very reminiscent to Metroid. If you wanted to, you could beat the entire game without ever having to change the map midway. In fact, this is an arbitrary change. The player has to go out of their way for this to happen. But do a few side quests, collect a few items, and spare a boss that you usually need to kill, and... Seriously? The IHOP's upside down now? The reverse castle is a near identical copy to the castle you were in before, just that it happens to be flipped entirely upside down. The floor is now the ceiling, the top of the map is now the bottom of the map, and every area has had a visual rework. Traversing the inverted castle is the only way to get the good endings. Considering that it's an entire new campaign and that they reference other Castlevania games, they had to put a lot more detail and care into the map than just flipping it upside down, which is why there are new enemies, bosses, music, and items. Having to use your abilities to cross places that would normally seem impossible is a really fun way to incorporate a map flip like this, and the visuals of the reverse castle are beautiful, especially the shots with the clouds under you. This looks nice. But in terms of the visuals and everything, there's one map change that stands out far from the rest. Sonic CD. I love this game. It's so beautiful, the music is so good, it has such an identity. Following the release of Sonic 1 was a big task, and while Sonic 2 was a more direct sequel, Sonic CD tried to do its own thing. And you can tell this game has so much style that no other Sonic game comes close to. And I think a lot of it are the environments. Each location in the game is so unique and really feels like it has its own world inside of it. They really characterize Little Planet as such a beautiful world, all 4 of them. Every level in the game has 4 different variations: a present, past, good future, and bad future version. Each version of the level has different music, a slightly different layout, different visuals, different obstacles, different enemies. The ways to enter each variation are different though. The present is the default for every level. The past is achieved through touching these signposts and never slowing down until you travel through time. The good and bad futures happen automatically on the 3rd act depending on what you did in the 1st and 2nd act. All the bad futures are so dark and mechanical. It really shows you just how horrible it is for Eggman to win control over Little Planet. Meanwhile, the good futures are in perfect harmony with nature. You get to see a peaceful world free of any chaos. Just getting to see these beautiful landscapes really makes the fight for a good future worth it. As to get a good future, you need to destroy the robot generator in the past. The past is also gorgeous. The more grounded colors make the locations feel real, and the music elevates these sites to a whole nother level. The bad future might sound like a broken and chaotic version of the present theme, while the good future might sound like a more triumphant and harmonious version of a present track. And it all connects to make the themes of the game greater. Sonic CD is a game about time, about the future. See, the present might be fine and dandy, but sooner or later, whether you want it or not, the future will come. A good or a bad future, you decide. It's easy to take an action, do nothing. Take the bad future at face and deal with it later, but you know how devastating that bad future is. Fight for the future, run the extra mile, take action, and time travel to the past a little bit, and although it's not easy, you'll see your good future, and there's an IHOP waiting for you when you get there. The best game environments are vivid. They feel like their own world. They're unique, and maps that change mid-game are exactly that. They represent many things: the slow corruption of a kingdom, the flow of time on a planet, and it presents an opportunity to not just make an environment beautiful, but dynamic. That's the word that I think represents all of this: dynamic. The old is gone, the new is here. It's not stagnant, it's moving, it's dynamic, and that's something we don't get to see very much in games, considering it's how life works. If you've got any cases of maps that change mid-game that I never talked about, please leave them in the comments. I read and heart all of them, and your comment might be in a sequel. Have you been wondering what's in the background? Take a wild fucking guess.